that I've just come back from the Global Indian Forum, introduced by Ben Thompson, and also with the Shadow Secretary for Foreign Affairs, the Labour Party, what's his name, David Lammy. And everything that you said today should be transposed to that conference, because it was just amazing, the cerebral, high level of some of what you're all working at. My background is a little bit more sort of, I'm dyslexic, I'm a disruptor, an innovator, coming from a very wide and diverse background. I won't go into that, but my care journey has two areas. One is when I was looking after my two children while my wife developed a career as a translator. And then when I was post various serial entrepreneurial endeavors, I was working at IBM. My mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. That was in 2000. And I ended up being a family carer for 5 years. So walking into the sector saying, where is the technology here? I mean, the silly thing you wore around your neck. And if you're a dancer, which I am, you know that if you fall on your hands, and that thing gets buried and you can't do anything. Not to mention the fact they don't even use the button because they forget. So I was dealing with all of this issues around home care. I developed my own home care agency. I specialized, I was trained by the Alzheimer's Society. Over the years, I've known David and Ian, amazing amount of progress, and what you've achieved is absolutely phenomenal. So hats off to you. We've changed as a company. We started off with a wearable device that I thought that would be for pediatrics, neonates. I was told we couldn't do it. We had to go to the adult version first, which threw me back into my background, running a home care agency specializing in dementia, supporting families and those service users. We then changed the dynamic of the wearable to a chest device, supported by Arrow, which is a $30 billion business. And I was then given one of their senior engineers, also a serial successful entrepreneur, to second it to our business to help us develop this technology, which I will go into in a minute. And that entrepreneur stroke engineer has brought in his team. So David and Ian, we're a completely different company as of February, and we have some serious serial entrepreneurs, heavyweights, not to mention 10 years consultancy with Tata Services consultancy.
Arrow is good.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I just feel so excited and honoured that these guys want to work with me. I'm a bit of a visionary and a bit off the wall, as Ian will know. He hasn't worked with me for, known me progress over the last sort of 5-10 years. So, what I believe is that we've reached almost an inflection point. It's not me, it's the only one. Technology is converging. We all know that. I don't need to tell you the references, etc., etc. The problem, my stall, I'm setting it out here, is that I actually believe regulatory, although I believe in regulation is actually one of the barriers for us moving forward. And my take on that is that why are we not using the data coming out of these amazing devices? And don't mind about my device or approaches. There are fantastic devices out there that are delivering fantastic high quality data. The problem we have with regulatory is that I'm not interested in the device. If I'm a GP or a technician or a clinician or a health professional, I just want the data. I just want to know it's accurate to a 2B class standard. That's it. Finished. Job done. But unfortunately, the health professionals cannot accept that data because of the regulatory processes. A nightmare. So that was my stall at the Indian conference, and seemed to have gone down quite well. The other issue is that we've got a multidisciplinary and fragmented society where actually the little itsy bitsies of 4 or 5 years ago, pre-COVID, actually don't work because the requirement and the AI integration of those itsy bitsies is a lot more complicated than we even think about. And working with these guys from they've got 250 years of IT experience behind us, which is a lot of time. These guys are serious. They say it's all very well saying open APIs, but unless you actually have done it, trying to integrate data is a mess, a total mess. Anyway, I'll talk to you about that later because we're talking about a thing called with Richard Foggy of Innovate to talk about interoperability. So when we talk about a problem, we've got to take it in a much more broader context, which is all of what you're doing, which is really lovely and it's wonderful to see, and I want to be part of it. But that's the issue. It's the interoperability of this data. And then the last point I'm making is the education. Without the education, the only place that I've seen real data integration is at Imperial. And I was very fortunate in being able to write them a letter saying, well, I think this is really important. And they got a massive amount of funding for a helicopter. David, you will know about this, a helicopter initiative where not only are they pulling together all the data that exists within the university, but they're educating the professors and the lecturers. And it's going to break down the silos. If you ever try to work with a university, you've got absolute silo mentality. We're working with Sheffield Hallam on a data lake with Google around one of our technologies. I need you to talk to engineering in Sheffield University. So you've got two universities back to back, side to side. I need you to talk to engineering. It's taken me nearly 4 months. Not even, and we're not even close. It's a nightmare. Anyway, so AI is going to throw it all apart. Our proposition is we need to talk. So hence the art of the impossible. Oh yeah, I'm going to do this, don't I? Just right down. Oh, there we go. So what we want to do is talk to potential people who will collaborate with us, because without collaboration, you can't do anything. It's too complicated. And the data issues that you want to get out of it, that we all want to use, is very multiple complex. So previously, as I said, I was working on a wearable device. I thought this was going to be amazing. It's a chest device. It's got all your vital signs. It's a walking ICU. I don't care about what you call it in terms of a CE mark, but the data is class 2B, finished, job done. Second is it's got a stethoscope, because if I'm a GP or a health professional, there's no way I'm going to give you a diagnosis unless I can listen to your heart and lungs. So not only do we have this device that's got a 5-channel, multi-channel stethoscope in progress, but we can actually democratize the stethoscope. So we can actually change the sound to a visual and then bespoke visual to an individual own lung and heart. It's a complicated issue. It is very hard and technical, but if nothing ventured, nothing gained. And there's no such word as calm in my language. So this stethoscope has an integral part. In addition to the stethoscope, we've got a chemical signature sensor, because we want to test that if we can detect chemical signatures from exhaled breath. And that's where the chemical signature sensor. But this device that we're wearing is extremely complex to put together. I've been humbled by, in terms of being a disruptive visionary into what is happening and is practical and can be done within time and budget. So what we're doing is we're looking and working with a chemical signature sensor to identify mold. That's a multi stakeholder problem. There is legislation around Iwe's law, if I pronounce that correct, where a young child died from a black mold respiratory condition. The stakeholders are obviously your landlords, your property developers, but also you've got the legislation around it and the litigation against those who are perpetrating poor quality housing or not responding to mold within the property. You've got the housing associations, social services, housing, and then you've got the actual NHS itself. The hypothesis, it is a hypothesis, is that if we can detect the chemical generated from the pathogens from the mold, we can associate that with actually the mold within the lung. Then you've got a way of claiming back money from the cost of care to undertake the medication that is as a result of that mold. And this goes for young people, aging anywhere. It's not 5 minutes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Secondly, we're looking at new schools. This is all part and parcel of a project that we're working with a retailer in looking at how they can deliver healthcare through the retail high street. These guys are already working with it. They brought in the business, and these elements are part of that process that we're working with the retailer. New Schools is a national system to measure, everybody knows what New Schools is. So it's a national system of monitoring vital signs throughout the secondary care process. Why aren't we using that knowledge and technology, or lack of technology, shall we say, to put it into primary, secondary, social care, nursing homes? If we had a pathway, and it could be that we could use it for small, for consumer apps, whereby we can maintain the same method of monitoring throughout the whole care path journey. And that's really exciting, because then you've got a constant data source that fits in with the NHS system rather than trying to fit up and work against it. So we're working with the systems. And the last one, there is a triage element to the nursing home, which is interesting, but I won't go into that. And then the third element is stress. So we have the wearable device. Yes, it can do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. I'm very interested in mental health and how we can use and detect stress through the telltale signs, physiological telltale signs of stress. And we're doing our first early stage trial with UCL on how we monitor 3 examples of generating stress and how we can then extend that later to a much more complicated, integrated process of applied to post-medical trauma, post-medical intervention trauma, maybe helping people to maintain and be sustained on a drug abuse program, rehab. You're talking about all sorts of femtech issues, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not rocket science. Stress is a real problem. We don't have an accurate way of measuring it that relates to physiological hard evidence that we can point to and address and say this is an issue that can be used by clinicians. So the art of the possible. These are the people who are going to be delivering it. As I say, it's a whole new board coming from my colleague working with Arrow. These guys have got 250 years of experience. One of them is, I'm very fortunate, I've got 2 CTOs. One that developed all the technology for mobile payment and ticketing systems in the UK. Fantastic. Worked with COVID, one of the top 10 companies in the world that instigated a track and trace system. And also he was one of the first people to develop the computer, the chip for the Acorn app, which went to ARM eventually. My other CTO is, again, worked with 10 years with Tata Consultancy Services, who Ian will know very well. Serious transformation, integration, systems, analysis, etc. The CPO is Arrow. All these guys are serial multiple successful entrepreneurs. Then we have the ex-finance director from Siemens, and someone who you may all be very interested in is a colleague called Robert Foster from Red Ochre. He is an expert registered with Hansard, and basically he's into social impact measurement, return on investment, and theory of change. None of this will happen unless we understand how it changes society and how services are being delivered to meet those objectives. And that's that guy, amazing fella. Look him up, he's brilliant and very, very approachable. So I would love to work with you. We're very small. We are very influential, as I've been around a while. I know people. We are moving slowly, steadily towards those end objectives. We're working with various universities to deliver the services and the initiatives that we're working on. How can we work together? Thank you.
Okay,
Any questions?
thank you very much. forgot to say, and very persistent.
Pardon?
This is not always a bad quality. Though.
Well, Ian, come on, Ian, you know, I might be doing it slightly different. You're at the top level. I'm working, you know, at the hard end of the coalface.
I admire it. Well done.
Well, thank you.